Maybe Chelsea should call in former winger Joe Cole to work with Alejandro Garnacho. Because Cole believes there is a brilliant player inside Garnacho who just needs a bit of love and guidance to deliver on his massive potential. Sign up for the Chelsea newsletter. Thank you. Alejandro Garnacho is struggling to win over Chelsea supporters, but ex-Blue Joe Cole is a fanCredit. Getty. Former Chelsea winger Cole is now a pundit for TNT SportsCredit. Getty. In other words, the right blend of carrot and stick. Right now, it is mostly stick that Garnacho is copying from Chelsea fans and some observers. The Argentine has put in some poor performances recently which seem to have wiped some of his better moments of the season, mainly in the Carabao Cup, from the memories of supporters. But Cole reckons, with careful management, Garnacho can deliver. Read more on Chelsea. The TNT Sports pundit told the Chelsea Files, "I'd love to coach Garnacho. He's such a super talented footballer. The sky's the limit. He could be anything, he really could. I'd love to go through his clips. There's a few technical things he can do better from a coaching performance in both boxes. Most read in football. Best online casinos, top sites in the UK. Because he's not like an old-fashioned winger or a number 10, he's a wing forward. There's a massive scope if he puts himself in better positions, but I also think he might need a little arm around his shoulder and a little bit of maturity in terms of how to conduct yourself as a footballer." Garnacho has made more bad headlines than good in the last 15 months or so, since falling out with then Manchester United boss Ruben Amorim. The mischief he and his brother created online during his long drawn-out goodbye to Old Trafford made him a surprise signing for Chelsea in some ways. Since joining the Blues for £40 million at the end of the summer window, Garnacho has been less active on social media. But Cole thinks Garnacho is someone who needs to be given very clear guidance what is acceptable, in football and outside it. Cole said, "Let's just say he's been controversial throughout his career. I've played with players like that and you think the penny will drop when the penny will drop. If I was dealing with him, I would have really strict boundaries on the pitch, and off the pitch. Agree them with him, work with him, and just keep reminding him what a talented footballer he is. You stick within the boundaries and you keep developing yourself." Garnacho has seemed lacking in confidence in recent weeks. Garnacho has been criticized for losing the ball too much, then not defending properly when he does. But he has also looked reluctant to take on his full back and lacking in confidence at times. Everything came to a head in a personally disastrous 45 minutes against West Ham. Although the whole Chelsea team was well off it, Garnacho in particular was poor and was rightly hooked at half-time. It was his joint worst half of the season, statistically. Opta rank players by how often they lose possession relative to number of touches. Against the Hammers, Garnacho gave the ball away 12 times, from 36 touches, 33.33%, the same ratio as in the October game against Nottingham Forest. But other players, including Liverpool's Florian Wirtz and teammates Pedro Neto and Estevao, have had worse individual games, according to the figures. And overall, Garnacho is far from the worst offender in the Premier League at giving away the ball, with 27. 96%, compared to top 3, Dango Ouattara of Brentford, and Everton pair Beto and Tierno Barry, who all register over 40% so far. Garnacho, it must be said, has contributed only 1 Prem goal and 3 assists in 16 appearances. Nevertheless, only João Pedro and Reece James have set up more goals for Chelsea, 4. Garnacho's tally of 17 ball carries ending in a shot by him or a chance for others puts him 29th in the PL, with only Neto and Estevao ahead of him in Chelsea colours. It is not a bad record, considering the Argentine has started only 8 Pita Leaders games. But since that Hammer horror show, Garnacho has played only 44 minutes for the Blues, 15 in the second leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final and 29 in the win at Wolves. He contributed little in either game. Cole, as a highly creative player back in the day, has a certain amount of sympathy. But he says Garnacho must be brave enough to keep trying to make things happen and diligent enough to do the basics when things do not come off. Cole said, "If you are going to take the ball into dangerous areas, you are playing a high-tariff game." Alejandro Garnacho has yet to hit the heights at Chelsea. Sometimes it is going to work, sometimes it is not, so you have to be mentally strong to be that type of player. With him, I would just simplify it. I would get him to get back to the basics of football. Take the pressure off him. Can you get out your full back 3 or 4 times a half? If you lose it, I don't care. Give him the freedom to do that, but on the flip side, when we're off the ball, I won't accept lack of concentration in defensive responsibilities. Because that's something that you can work on. You don't need to be confident to put yourself in the right position. I'm not digging him out. I'm just saying there's a load of scope for him to improve. And the things that he can improve on are actually the simplest things. He's got the ability. If he added the other side, a bit more maturity to his game, he would feel so much more free himself. TNT Sports and Discovery Plus are showing all 10 midweek Premier League fixtures live and exclusively. For further information, go to tntsports.co.uk. Blues for Chelsea kids. Blues boss Liam Rossinier was in the crowd for the FA Youth Cup 5th round tie credit. Getty. First-team boss Liam Rossinier and Cole Palmer watched Chelsea's under-18 team lose heavily to Palmer's former club Manchester City in the FA Youth Cup 5th round. And the identity of their tormentor-in-chief in the second half of a 4-1 win for City gave the result extra edge. Ryan McAdoo left Chelsea for City last summer after 5 years at Cobham, part of the double blow which saw Rio Numoha join Liverpool. At Kingsmeadow on Monday night, McAdoo made one and scored the final goal for the visitors before Ryan Kavuma McQueen grabbed a late consolation. Chelsea first-teamers Palmer, Liam Delap, Tosin Adarabioyo, Romeo Lavia and Jamie Giddens all grew up in City's academy, most of them working there under former Blues head coach Enzo Maresca. But the rivalry between arguably the two best youth setups in the country is given particular spice by other staff who are very much still involved with Chelsea. Joe Shields joined the Blues from Southampton as co-director of recruitment and talent in 2022. But before his short spell with the Saints, Shields spent 9 years working his way up City's structure to head of academy recruitment and talent manager, during which time all 5 of the current Chelsea players listed above were at the club. Glenn van der Kraan spent 4 years as head of coaching at City's academy before joining the Blues as technical director of the academy in October 2024. And Callum McFarlane was a coach in City's youth setup for 3 years, before joining Southampton in 2023 and moving on to Chelsea last summer. McFarlane arrived as assistant to under-21 boss Felipe Coelho, but was quickly promoted when Coelho left to become to then Strasbourg boss, Rossinier. McFarlane had a stint as caretaker boss of the first team before Rossinier arrived and is now part of the backroom staff for the senior side. Dan Hogan does not have City links. He arrived as under-16s head coach at the start of the season, but was promoted to under-18s boss in January. Some critics have suggested all the changes behind the scenes are having an impact, not so much in performances but in the overall atmosphere, with some parents expressing concern. But for all the upheaval, the Youth Cup defeat was the first big setback of the season for the Chelsea Academy. The under-18s are unbeaten and 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League South, with at least a game in hand on their rivals. The under-19 side will face Real Madrid in the last 16 of the UEFA Youth League on February 25 and are yet to lose in Europe. And the under-21s are top of Premier League 2 on goal difference. Napoli face Pedro Rap. João Pedro scored twice to send Chelsea into the Champions League last 16 credit. Getty. UEFA are set to hit Napoli with a fine following their Champions League clash with Chelsea. The Blues came from 2-1 down in Naples to beat Antonio Conte's side thanks to 2 strikes from João Pedro. But following the Brazilian's second, the home crowd started hurling objects at the striker. Pedro had finished a fine move, sparked by Cole Palmer's through ball, and ran into the nearest corner to celebrate. But a number of Napoli fans threw bottles and other objects towards Pedro and his teammates as they celebrated the winner, which secured their place in the top 8 of the Champions League group phase and ensured Conte's men would not reach the knockouts. UEFA have confirmed to the Chelsea files that disciplinary proceedings have been opened against the Italian champions for the throwing of objects, as well as for home supporters lighting flares ahead of kick-off. Napoli are likely to be hit with a significant fine. Eintracht Frankfurt were recently hit with a £26,000 sanction for the same charges. There could also be a suspended measure of banning Napoli from selling tickets to their next away European game, which will not be until next season should they qualify. Neto's abuse. Rumors that Pedro Neto removed Chelsea from his Instagram profile are wide of the mark, yet have incited more abuse on the Blues winger. Neto updated his profile picture to a picture of him playing for Portugal, rather than Chelsea, but that is all. The 25-year-old winger has come under fire this season with a lot of online hatred, mostly due to his lack of end product and a myth that he and Cole Palmer don't pass to each other. Most online discourse surrounding Neto, particularly on X, is Chelsea fans begging him to leave or for the club to sell him, especially since Brazilian wonderkid Estevão showed up in southwest London. His end product hasn't been good enough at times, and criticism of that is justified, but the level to which he is abused is unfair. After all, only João Pedro and Enzo Fernandez have scored more goals than him in all competitions. Neto works harder up and down the wing than any other Chelsea player and is often involved in goals that he gets no credit for. He was involved in some sense in all 3 goals against his former club on Saturday, but recorded no goals or assists. There is also this myth that he and main man Cole Palmer don't get on, and that they refuse to pass the ball to each other. Of Neto's 585 passes this season, 43 have been to Palmer, making him the 5th highest for any of his teammates. When you factor in the amount of games that Palmer has missed through injury, that is impressively high. Of Palmer's 327 passes, 39 have been to Neto, the most of any of his fellow players. Myth dispelled. Fair exchange. Dusan Satpayev will say hello properly to Chelsea when he arrives next summer. Credit. Reuters. There is plenty of give and take in the relationship between Chelsea and Kazakh side Kairat. The Blues hope they will end up as the biggest beneficiaries of the relationship, after agreeing a deal which will see teenage striker Dusan Satpayev join the club this summer. In the meantime, though, Chelsea have rolled out the welcome mat to Kairat staff, too. While the Kazakhstan club were in London last month for their Champions League clash with Arsenal, a number of their personnel visited the training ground. Club executives, coaches and medical staff met each other, and the Kairat delegation also learned about the Blues' recruitment and scouting programs. There are plans for Kairat head coach Rafael Razbaktin, assistant head coach Artyom Gavrilenko and head of the Kairat Academy Alexander Kotlier to spend more quality time at Cobham in the future. By the sounds of things, Chelsea Chiefs will have to drag Satpayev off the training ground once he joins the club. Kairat boss Razbaktin explained, "We had to forbid him from training. He was always sneaking out into the gym or back onto the pitches after sessions. We'd laugh because we would see him practicing in the dark through the window and we had to tell him to stop. Now understands the importance of recovery. Colwill trials. Levi Colwill is well into his rehab from injury but is also pressing ahead with other projects. Credit. Getty. Levi Colwill continues to prepare for his comeback from knee surgery, perhaps before the end of the season. But the Chelsea centre-back is also focused on preparing the next generation of footballers and giving back to his hometown community. Next Tuesday, February 17, the Levi Samuels Colwill Academy is holding trials for current Year 11 pupils who want to join its program in the next academic year. The LSCA works in conjunction with South League Premier Division Southside Shoaling FC, where Colwill's uncles and brother have all played. Recommended stories. Players who come through the latest trials at Sholing Stadium in Southampton will begin a 2-year NCFE Level 3 extended diploma in sport and physical activity in the autumn, alongside training with the club. Southampton-born Colwill, still only 22 himself, said on Instagram, "Joining my academy is not just about improving your game. It's about unlocking your full potential, growing as a player, and being the best version of yourself both on and off the pitch." Comments.